This manga is about an office worker who lost his job due to high inflation and bad economy. He moves into the cheapest place he could find, but discovers that there is a female ghost who lives there as well. Now what would you do in this situation? Call a priest or something, so he can exorcise this demon.
Nope.
Instead, this guy straight up starts clapping her cheeks and fills her with his holy water. Basically, he becomes a ghost buster. Why? To put it simply, he is built different. With that being said, let's begin the recap of this spicy manga. Meet the 37-year-old protagonist named Dekamoto, who upon close inspection looks like a hentai version of Toji Fushiguro from Jujutsu Kaisen. He recently got laid off from his desk job due to bad economy and high recession. Furthermore, he couldn't pay his rent on time and got kicked out of his place immediately. But lucky for him, he found a very cheap house nearby and decided to move in quickly. During his inspection of the new place, he notices that a female ghost named Kay is stalking him. This annoys him, but he ignores her anyways. Since he is a brokey and doesn't have much to his name, he decides to stay in this place. Dekamoto starts unpacking his luggage and pulls out a doujin about an international student living in a haunted apartment. He explains that this particular piece is well loved because the ghost slowly drowns the student into pleasure. Johnny Sins, is that you? Since his situation is very similar to this doujin, he gets an idea. At night, when the ghost tries to scare him through the vent, he plays the reverse card and scares her instead. He then kisses her aggressively, but she gets scared and runs back to her vent. Thinking she is gone, he decides to sleep in the closet. While asleep, she comes back and gets on top of him. But he already predicted it and was ready for her. Dekamoto kisses her and tries to take things forward, but she headbutts him and runs away. Every night since then, she comes back to him and they progress things a little further each time. One night while lying down, he wishes to get along with Kay, since he is going to live here for quite a while. At that moment, she shows up right behind him and crawls into his blanket, getting cozy with him. He then applies the 2-finger discount code on her vertical lips, and they do some doujin stuff. The next day, he goes to a pachinko slot and it seems to be his lucky day, because he wins a decent amount of cash there. After exiting the establishment, he exclaims that ever since he moved to this place, luck has been on his side. Furthermore, he heard that ghosts hate nasty things and steal souls. While walking through the market, he notices a beautiful dress on sale in one of the clothing stores. At night, he reads the daily newspaper to find a job and Kay appears in front of him. She kisses him, but before they could go further, he gives her the dress that he saw earlier today. She tries it on and looks quite cute. Dekamoto tries to take several pictures of her, but when he looks at his phone, she doesn't show up on the screen, confirming she really is a ghost. They then continue their daily night cardio session. The next day he tells Kay that he will be late today and heads outside. He hears someone yelling outside his place and goes to check it out. The landlord had invited a monk, who was casting some spells on the entire building. Looks like my favorite actor has finally found a new character for himself. The monk looks at Dekamoto and senses an evil entity at his place. He tries to enter his room, but Dekamoto somehow manages to hold him back. The landlord tells him that the residents are complaining that they are seeing objects moving on their own, and hearing cries even when they are by themselves. That's why he hired the monk to perform the exorcism, but Dekamoto insists that he got no complaints about his place. The monk is very persistent, just like that one poop stain in my toilet seat. So Toji. Dekamoto uses his domain expansion and calls out the monk for his plan on selling him talismans after he is done performing the exorcism. The landlord hears this and tells the monk to wait for a few days before he performs the exorcism. He goes back to his room to check on Kay, but she is trembling from fear and it looks like the monk's chants are working on her. He plugs her ears and kisses her until the chants are over. After that, he contemplates between going to the employment center and doing Kay. In the end he does Kay first, and decides to go to the employment center tomorrow. While giving her them backshots, he wonders if him helping out Kay is the cause of all these paranormal activities and questions why she can't go to the afterworld. The following day, while coming back from the employment center, he runs into the landlord, and they go back to his place. While he is serving him tea, Dekamoto asks about the incidents that happened in his room. The landlord decides to tell him about the incidents, but only on the condition that he will consider the exorcism for his room. So here it goes. This story started over 50 years ago, when a newlywed couple moved into this apartment, shortly after its construction was completed. After moving in, they welcomed a baby boy into this world. But one day out of nowhere, her husband died. The wife called the police, but they arrested her since she had her fingerprints all over the dead body. Upon further investigation, it was concluded that the husband died from a heart attack due to extreme excitement while clapping cheeks of his wife. So they released her. Bro died, possibly the best death in the entire manga. Soon the media found out about this case, and they published it in the newspaper. Due to this, she couldn't find a job and fell into poverty. Later she was found dead in her room, and that concludes the story. He thanks the landlord for telling him the story, and leaves his place. While going back to his apartment, he thinks that this shouldn't be enough for number of paranormal activities that are happening in this place. He sits in his room by the window and wonders about the cause for these paranormal activities. At night Kate comes to meet him as usual, but this time, he wants to see if a ghost can get pregnant from a human. So they start the baby making process. My man is really shooting for stars here. After he is done clapping her cheeks, he goes to the nearby convenience store and buys a few energy drinks for himself. While taking a sip, he notices a kid standing across the street from him. The kid was giving him that 1,000-yard death stare. Suddenly, a car crashes into a truck, and consequently the truck hits Dekamoto. Looks like our boy is finally going to get isekai.
Nope.
He opens up his eyes and finds himself in a hospital. The kid he saw before the accident is standing near his bed, and with an angry expression he tells him, "Do not go near my mother." But when a nurse comes to his room, he disappears. Meanwhile, back at his place, the landlord and the monk are discussing how Dekamoto hasn't been home for the past few days, and wonder if it is because of the evil entity. Kei is also sitting on the bed, waiting for him to come back home. The landlord thinks of reporting it to the police, but the monk tells him to wait for a few more days. It's been more than a week since Dekamoto got in the hospital. He wonders how Kei is doing right now, as he is worried about her. After staying in the hospital for 14 days, his total bill comes down to approximately 3,200,000 yen, or $26,000.
Bruh.
Of course he can't pay that much amount since he is a brokey, and is encouraged to visit the consultation office. While going home, he wonders about the kid he saw before the accident. He opens the door and goes inside, but suddenly, Kei comes out of nowhere and hugs him immediately. Dekamoto apologizes to her for suddenly disappearing, and then they go right into doing the hot dojin stuff. While Dekamoto is giving her them daddy back shots, the kid is standing outside the door listening them having a good time. He walks right through the front door, and reveals that he is a ghost. Meanwhile, the monk was standing there and he saw it unfold right before his eyes. Dekamoto tells Kei that he knows what happened to her, and thinks that him clapping her cheeks could be the cause of the paranormal activities. And since she can't get pregnant, it's for the best that she has her wish fulfilled, so she can pass on to the afterlife. She is shocked to hear this, and starts crying in his arms. The next day he packs his stuff and decides to move, but the monk shows up with a motorcycle in front of him, and asks if he got a minute. He then takes him back to his place, and upon opening the door, he sees the boy sitting there. Confused, Dekamoto asks why is this kid here. The monk tells him that this boy is the reason of all the recent paranormal activities, and the woman at his place is the mother of this child. The kid tells Dekamoto that during her death, Kei was pregnant with him, so he died with her. But recently, she got enough strength to provide him a ghost body. Dekamoto then asks if his accident was on purpose, and he answers yes, it was on purpose. He didn't like him being with his mother, but when he was in hospital, he regretted his decision. This is because his feelings are connected with his mother, and she was really sad while he was in the hospital. So he is here to get exorcised by the monk. Dekamoto objects to his decision, but the kid says that he doesn't have control over his body, and he would only cause destruction if he stayed any longer. However, he would like to meet his mother before he gets exorcised from this world. They bring him to his mother, and here Dekamoto finds out that her wish was to have a child. They start the exorcism and Dekamoto plugs her ears. The kid successfully passes on after being acknowledged by his mother. The monk then tells Dekamoto that they still have to find a way to let Kei pass in peace, and asks Dekamoto for his help, to which he agrees immediately. After the exorcism, he tells Kei that the hospital had a clerical error in the bill, so as compensation they charged him nothing. He then notices that her hair has gotten longer for some reason. Outside the door, a man slips an envelope in his room. Turns out Dekamoto got hired for one of the jobs he applied through the employment center. This company is short on staff, and they need his skills as an office worker. But the main problem is that this company is located in a ridiculously remote area. He goes back home after 2 weeks and opens the door. Kei welcomes him back by giving him some sweet panani. Later he goes to the monk's place and tells him about what happened today. He is shocked to see the kid coming out of the well nearby. The monk explains that this well acts as a portal to the afterlife, so he can freely travel between this world and the afterlife. They then go back to Dekamoto's place to meet Kei, and she gets really excited to see them. Later that day, he checks his mailbox and finds a mail summoning him to the legal counseling office. This mail was from a lawyer that represented his mother who passed away a few years earlier. It turns out his mother inherited an inn, where his grandma used to live. He goes over to check it out and wonders if he should accept it. While he is contemplating about it, we can see a tentacle in the background. Something looks fishy about this place. He goes to the next room and finds an altar there. He gets down on his knees and decides to pray. While he is doing so, a woman with her tentacles appears right behind him. She has that dummy mommy smile on her face. We cut back to Kei, who hears someone calling her name. When she goes to investigate the voice, the woman from earlier grabs her hand and tells her, "I finally found you." She creates the illusion that Dekamoto wants to do it with her, but Kei finds out and headbutts her while bursting into the next room. There she sees the woman on top of Dekamoto. This makes her angry and she uses her powers to make her disappear. Kei picks up the picture of a woman from the altar and walks away without saying any word. Dekamoto once again goes to legal counseling office, and the lawyer tells him that it took a while to find him after his mother's death. He then asks if he wants to inherit the inn or not. He thinks of yesterday's incident and believes this place could be dangerous for Kei, so he decides to decline the offer. But in that moment, he gets possessed by the spirit from yesterday and accepts the offer. Later he goes to sleep and asks Kei about the woman in the photo, but she doesn't want to answer the question, so he doesn't force it. While they are sleeping, the tentacle woman appears while releasing a gas and a liquid, which acts as an aphrodisiac. So Dekamoto and Kei end up doing it on the spot. Furthermore, the woman joins them as well. We then get the lore expansion of a woman which explains that she got married into a family whose heir owned an inn. They welcomed their baby girl into the world. But after that, the business started cooling down, and the husband became abusive. She somehow managed to send her daughter to a girls-only school and slowly poison her husband. However, a few years later she got the news that her daughter had ended things as well. This completely broke her. At the monk's place, we see someone coming out of the well present in his garden. He is shocked to see who it is and can't believe his eyes. Kei wakes up from the exhausting boom boom session, and the woman tells her that she missed him. Turns out this is her mother, and the mother-daughter from the flashback are actually them. She wishes to bring Kei and Dekamoto back to the afterlife, so all of them can live together. Dekamoto wakes up to them talking and asks her mother permission to marry Kei. He then bites both of their ring fingers, signifying their marriage. Her mother says she can't pass on because of the regrets and has been looking for her. So if the soft approach doesn't work, she will have to do it by force. Suddenly, the person from the monk's well bursts through the door, and it is revealed to be In's landlady, who is also Dekamoto's grandmother. She scolds Kei's mother and drags her ass back to the afterlife. But before she goes, she tells Dekamoto to find some work. After that, he inherits the inn and ends up renovating it thanks to the fortune that her grandma told him about. Their business starts booming after Kei accidentally reveals herself to a client, and the place becomes famous for ghost sighting. With that being said, they live happily taking care of the inn and get married. That's it for the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it.